Hello, I'm Diana Kanecki, founder of Kanecki Art, Kanecki Associates Incorporated, and DKA Strategic Planning Incorporated. I'd like to talk about two programs that I binge watched on Netflix this weekend. One was Girlboss, and the other was Dear White People. What I liked about both series is that they're both based on true accounts and the real and relevant. Well, in Girlboss, what I liked the most about was the opening scene. It's about basically a young woman who found a nasty gal, and like what really happens is you don't have the venture capital, you don't have everything you need to to found a business. It's like in Lonnie Dangerfield's Back to School about the business professor who's out touch said, well, we're going to make a widget, we're going to build a big factory, we're going to get this money and do it, but they haven't test marketed the product. They haven't done a pilot launch. They haven't started small and built up their customer base. And Rodney Dangerfield called the professor on the carpet, and rightly so. And the professor retaliated by giving him a very stringent test that almost anyone would fail. And he passed it with flying colors. And he said, "I felt like I gave birth," which he meant that it was very laborious and very um, of a nuisance, of painful. I think. But the thing is, in Girl Boss, it starts in a realistic setting. Um, she's trying to find she's working a job she really doesn't like. Um, Also, her father saying, well, you should figure out what you want to do with your life and find work or something, find something you do like. And she's on to work one day and she's going up the hill, and like most people, sometimes you don't have a full tank of gas or enough gas. You just have enough just to get to work and get gas afterwards. So she gets up to the hill and the car conks out. Well, what happened? She looks and realizes, well, it conked out because of a low tank, which has happened to many of us, going up and down a hill, and especially when you're trying to figure out what you want to do, and also when you're in a job that you're stuck in, you really think you don't have a choice. You do, and that's what I like about Kay Perry's song, Laura. You do always do have a choice. Um, so she gets up this hill. She sees a gas station, so she gets out and she pushes the car, and there's a trolley that comes up because the car's stalled on the tracks, and the guy sarcastically says, "Well, do you need any help?" And she says, "No, I'm good," because she knew if she would ask for help, he would be more sarcastic. So then she starts to push the car, and the trolley guy says, "Well, can't you push faster? I have a schedule to maintain." And the best part of what I liked, and I even had a good chuckle, is she put out her hand and gave the middle finger with her back turned. And that's the right way that she should have responded. And because when someone is a jerk, they deserve the finger. I mean, and the thing is, when she did that, she went back to the task what she was headed to do was push the car and get it to the gas station. Later, she went to work, and the 1% work was basically being snippy, and she realized it wasn't the right environment for her, but she did her best to try to go through. And after a while, when the snippy person couldn't win her point or couldn't force her to win a point, she just said, "Well, fine." The snippy person said, "Well, you're fired," and she said, "No, I quit." And like most people, when something stressful happens, sometimes we shop. So, and I can understand. I've done that too. I went shopping as well. And so in shopping, she went through different a store she liked, and she saw something, and even with the store owner had a very high attitude of his customers and felt that he was looking down upon his customers, and she sensed that, but she again kept her mind focused and just looked around. She saw something that caught her eye, and it was also very unique. And so she went up to mine and says, "Well, how much was this?" "Oh, $20." And she said, "Well, I only have 12." She says, "Well, I'm sorry, the price tag is $20." And she said, "Well, not interested." So she just walked away. Um, just started walking. And before the guy, he came down from his high cloud, looked down and realized that he's in business and he needs to make a sale. And he said, "Well, okay." He said, "Okay, $12." So he sold it to her. And the thing is, what's important about this is something my dad mentioned about my grandfather, and the same with me. Is my grandfather, well, in days before internet, people used to go through junkyards and thrift stores. And what would happen is basically is my grandfather could always walk through junkyard and find stuff that was not junk. And he'd go and my grandma said, "Well, how much?" He says, "Stanley, $5 is too much. Call me when you want to sell it." And he just walk away. And then what happens? He would a little while later, the one owner would drum shop owner said, "Well, Stanley, okay, what do you want me to go offer for?" And the grandma said, "Well, $3." Just sold. And eventually, people realized that my grandpa was tough and fair. You don't when someone does something overpriced, you shouldn't buy it or support it. I mean, like one friend of mine, she had a great sense of recognizing when things were overpriced because she told me about Trader Joe's and how they price things. I was shopped at Trader Joe's when I was in Evanston, and they were a great store, as well as Jewel on Chicago Avenue and Whole Foods. But the point is, when something's overpriced, walk away because if the person really is in business and they want to make the sale, and they also realize when something's overpriced and word gets around that they're overpricing things. How long are they going to be able to stay in business? Um, but getting back to it, the next thing she did, she saw this code and she needed money for to pay her rent because basically, like most entrepreneurs, it's always a juggle. What do you do? How do you balance your time and money? And if you wait for a time when there's enough money to do anything, someone will never do it. You won't because there's always something that'll come up. You got to take that. You got to take that leap. You got to break through the terror barrier, as Bob Proctor would say. I mean, just take the step, walk, don't look back. It's in the rearview mirror. Let it go. And what she did was basically she had a jacket and she knew what the jacket was as a special type of jacket that was made in 1970. She also knew another thing which something that's very important is what is the actual value of intellectual property that you're holding, whether it's a jacket, whether it's software, whether it's anything. What is the actual value? Um, at that time, the intangible value of that jacket was $20, but then she realized it's actually worth more. Um, so she went on eBay. She posted, and she was expecting maybe she might get maybe $50 for her or $60, but what it actually came out to was it actually when the bidding finally concluded, it was a high amount, and and then but and that high amount allowed her to pay her rent and also have some money to do some other things. But here's the part that's the most important. She didn't stop there. Many people, when they have a problem, they'll stop and then they'll go back to being a cog. It has been shown. There's a movie like that called with Melanie Griffin. It was made in the '80s. A Working Girl. What it was is basically she was an executive assistant working in a pool, and there's a problem that came up, and then what happened was she finally solved the problem. But at that time, my parents were alive, and my dad said, "Well, wait till this next scene," because my dad had a feeling what the next question was going to be, and the next question was, "You solved this one problem. Now, are you willing to solve problems like this scale on a day-to-day basis and be able to come back each morning and do it again?" And her answer is yes. And that is how she proved she was not a cog. She proved that she had individuality and that she could lead people and she could do, and also she could keep the goodness that she had to make the organization better. In Girlboss, it's the same thing. She has a friend that inspires her. And also, what she did, she continued. She realized she hit upon something. So what she did, she took that money and she went through other shops and looked around to see what other things are out there, and she also knew what her specialty was. She knew that basically she had an eye for fashion, and she knew basically how to implement that and how to use that to her advantage to sell things on eBay that people would want. Um, and the thing is, everyone has a specialty, and the thing is, when you find it and you get the first success, you can build upon that success and do more. It's easy to do, and it's fun. You should always have fun with what you're doing. If you're not having fun, then you really shouldn't be doing it. I mean, there's some things that you have to do, and that every all of us has to do every day, but also make time for fun. The second series that I saw was called Dear White People, and it's about a young black woman who is at a quote liberal college that believes that they're open-minded. Um, However, really they're not, because once more of the culture comes in to that they wanted to show the open mind to, starts challenging the new establishment rules, much like the November election. They rebel by having a blackface party, which is a very derogatory party that was done many ages ago, and many people consider it as very horrific. So what she did was basically, rather than give violence, she said, okay, well, let's have a dialogue. So she did a radio show called Dear White People, and it was and she when she gave the radio show, she didn't hide behind the radio. She let people tell her what they thought. I mean, and also, but also she set boundaries. The two that basically she didn't allow someone to be cruel to her. Cruel means that someone is honest, but they're not kind. They're honest, but they do it in a vengeful way. That's being cruel, and that's where you have a right to respond back. For example, like I had someone I talked with the guy in the election. He was a former professor. He's very at Loyola. He is very good at using philosophical argument. However, when it came time that he felt that that his point was going to be challenged, he could get cruel, and that was the reason why I couldn't stay with him. But the thing is, it's also a point that when you have a conversation, you should have a conversation that it still stays a conversation or a discussion, but it's not cruel, because if someone resorts to cruelty to win a point, they've actually lost their point, because um, you a negative does not turn into a positive, no matter how it's used. I mean, if someone's point is valid, you can be honest but not cruel and have the points go. Um, so in this case, what she did was she on the radio station she did things, and also in one episode she was actually put on probation by the university because she was too outspoken and making mischief. And um, the people who make mischief and the crazy ones are the ones who move people forward. When I bought my first Nook at Barnes and Noble, I bought it, and a friend of mine was with me, and another friend was working in the store, and I asked for a cover for it, and I saw the cover, I picked up, and the cover said "Making Mischief," and the one person, both of them was mine. We had a feeling you would pick out that cover, and the reason why is because I do speak out, and I do make mischief. Part of the thing is my version of is I test things and challenge things. For example, let's give a case of this last election. The new liberal establishment said, well, people don't realize how good it is and how good they have it, and if they vote for this candidate, where's Trump, the earth is going to disappear into a void, and it's, and blah, 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 blah. But however, what they missed a point on was it wasn't that the people who switched over in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania switched over because we suddenly became hardcore conservative, hardcore Tea Party. It was we switched over because um, we felt that the new liberal establishment at the Democratic convention shafted us. For example, they shafted Bernie. Bernie made many recommendations for different positions. All of them were rejected. I can understand if some were rejected. Fine. Okay, that happens in any process. But all, no. That's and in addition, even up to November, with the concept, the new establishment still wouldn't change. They still didn't want people to question the reasoning to protest, but they forgot when they were in their 20s, as the millennials are today. When they saw something that wasn't right, um, they protested too. Um, and the thing is, the new establishment with the liberals that are over 60 don't want anyone under 60 not to protest, especially the millennials not to protest. Um, Guys, you're being very hypocritical. Um, that's the reason why we voted for Trump. It wasn't because necessarily that we supported certain things, but it was pragmatic. But there were certain things we did support where Trump said, "You will never be forgotten again." When new liberals who are over 60 in the Democratic Party tell people, "Oh, you don't have to worry. We know everything. You people in the Midwest don't know anything, or you people on the East Coast who aren't as rich as we are, you don't know anything, or not part of our Hollywood quick click. You don't. Okay, that means actually it's time for you to actually leave office and let someone who really wants to work." Um, and I mean, I call myself a moderate Republican. The reason why is because, like this last election, there are too many people who call themselves Democrat. They know how to put on the shoes, as Phil K. Dick mentioned in his story, the Adjustment Bureau, the right type of clothes, their how to not tie a tie, and how to use certain jargon that makes them appeal due to their stylist and specialist. And that again, that's hypocritical. But another reason why I call myself a moderate Republican too is because I'm liberal on certain things and I'm conservative on others. I mean, as far as my social behavior and my identity, I'm very liberal. When I go out with friends, I just don't go out with friends who are my skin color. I also go out with friends who are basically black as well. But the interesting thing is, even today in a quote liberal community, sometimes when I go out with friends who are black, it's still like, guess who's coming to dinner? I mean, in 1967 that could have been understood, but this is 2017, 50 years later. Um, that shouldn't raise an issue. Um, a person has a right to love who they love, and they have a right to go out with who they want to go out with. I mean, if that's not someone's prerogative, okay, fine, that's their prerogative, but keep it to yourself. I mean, if you don't want to go out with people of a different race or skin color than you, okay, that's up to you. But you don't have, but it's not right for you to force your belief or force your disdain on those who are having a good time. You have a right to live your life. We have a right to live our life. Um, that's the American way. Um, the thing is, um, with um, with the new liberal establishment, which was the older Democrats who overthrew the Republican establishment in the 60s and early 70s. That was, and even the democratic establishment that existed then because of what happened in Vietnam. That was, but the thing is, they lost touch too. They became comfortable with power. They became comfortable with prestige. They became comfortable with the parties. And when they started addressing the millennials as negative or people who were quote under 60 as being cougars or part of the millennials, um, well, you that's why the revolt came, because basically you the Democratic Party as existed doesn't exist. And a friend of mine who I know, I'll just use the first shot at him, we talked and she said, the Democratic Party that you and I grew up with in the Kenosha you and I grew up with no longer exist. And the reason is because both both of them are more interested in the money and the lobbyists, and they don't care anymore about people having a good quality of life and actually moving up the social strata, um, from up from lower to lower middle, upper middle to upper, as far as quality of life and income. Um, and this episode, Dear White People, address this because it is important that um, we need to call out hypocrisy. And just because a college may say, well, oh, we support this and we support that, and fine, that's lip service, okay, but what way comes is how do you do it? I mean, like the one thing I liked about when I first came to Evanston was um, the best thing was I went into Jewel on Chicago Avenue and went to shop. When I went into Jewel, I was just a customer. I wasn't a celebrity. I wasn't something to point out. I wasn't the entertainment. And I just picked it out. And the same thing with Trader Joe's as well, and Whole Foods. Um, the same thing happened when I went on the Northwestern campus. One day, and I also had a nice interview with one person from the Daily Northwestern regarding a finance article they were working on. I also wrote back regarding the one student who's transgender at Evanston Township High School, some of my thoughts about what should be done. The thing, as well as Barnes& and Noble in Evanston, Sherman. All those places made me feel welcome. They were safe places, but there's some cases where I took Metra, and there's some graduate students who are working at Great Lakes in counseling, and they pointed me out on the train as part of the entertainment, and they were also soundcasting. Soundcasting is where someone is not speaking as they were to one person or another, to speaking to project. Um, and other people on the train felt uncomfortable with what they're doing and made me feel uncomfortable with what they're doing. And I would go through this a few times, went all the way from Evanston up to Great Lakes, and also from when I got on the train, when they got on from Great Lakes down to Evanston. One night I left crying, finally, off the train. Finally, some of the conductors, and especially one older conductor, finally put their foot down, and that practice finally stopped. But that's sometimes the reason why I had to put on headphones and play the music loud on headphones, just to try to avoid that. But the thing is, um, that's an example of where, like the series Dear White People, gets gets some of the material from, because I can see from another cultural perspective, when you're being singled out, or you're being looked down upon, or you're being tokenized. Well, of course you're going to call it the hypocrisy. Anyone will. I mean, I called it out as well when I go through that too. And even though the series is called Dear White People, I emphasize quite a bit with it, because I have been treated almost the same way, and especially my grandfather. My grandfather, after during World War One, he had to jump off his troop. The ship he was on was sinking, and to save himself and the rest of the crew to save themselves, they had to jump into burning oil. So basically, it changed the color of his skin from here down to here. So when people saw him basically just from here to here, His skin color's changed. Some people who were mean would say, well, oh, or didn't recognize my grandpa would say, oh, well, there's a black person. And 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 the thing is, my grandfather, when he worked at Nash and EMC, he went through a lot of discrimination that many black people went through at that time, even in the UAW. Delayed promotion, delayed raises, having to do extra heavy work that the other people who were quote not black didn't have to do. Luckily, eventually there was a good union leader that came to Kenosha in Local 72, and he stopped that practice. And also Charles Nash, when he found out about it, stopped it too. Because my grandfather was friends with Charles Nash, and we are still friends with the Nash family. And with me, I'm Polish and German, but I also have olive skin, so I tan quite a bit. But to some people in certain areas that can't tan, they say, oh, you must be black or light black. No, I'm white. But the thing is, um, people do make when people look down upon people just because they're different. That's why I emphasize with the cities if they're white people because and radio is one good way how to do it as well as YouTube videos and other things. So if you when you do have a chance, watch Girlboss and Dear White People. Let me know what you think. I prefer to receive comments through Twitter at Diana1A, or if you want to, you leave it on the YouTube channel too, but it's easier for me to access comments through Twitter. Um, talk with you soon.